Welcome to the Ayurvedic Minute. Today, let's talk about doshas. Thank you for joining me in the Ayurvedic Minute. I refer a lot to what are called doshas in my Ayurvedic Minutes, and I know that there's a lot of information out there on the internet that you can find about what doshas are, but I thought I would try to take a few minutes to explain that from my perspective and in my words. The doshas are basically a constitution, and there are three main doshas in Ayurveda that you may have heard of: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Now, most people are a combination. It's pretty rare in our culture today, wherever you may live, that somebody would be entirely Vata or entirely Pitta or entirely Kapha. That's, if their origins and their genetic, their DNA is really pure from like they're purely Samoan or purely South Indian, then maybe. But typically we're such a mix that even our constitution is varied and in combination. Your constitution, called prakriti, is decided at conception. Basically, it's a combination of what's at play in the father and what is at play in the mother and how that comes together to form the embryo. But where you're at today, vikruti, can change and you can affect it. The ideal is to be in balance, to be balanced with your prakriti, that which you are conceived with, that which you are born with. And so looking at each of the doshas, there are elements that are strong and dominant in each dosha. And Vata is comprised of air and ether. And air is air, it's movement, it's wind, it's about the nervous system and things that move and transmit in our bodies. Ether is space, it's the space in which things happen. And in fact, it's such an interesting concept in Ayurveda, this concept of ether, because it's such a subtle element. It's the space between electrons in an atom. It's the space between heavenly bodies in our galaxy. It's the space between galaxies. So space is happening on both a microcosmic and a macrocosmic scale. But both air and ether have qualities of dryness and coldness. And so Vata can have these tendencies to be dry and cold. So it is important for a Vata to avoid foods and situations that are dry and cold, or it exacerbates some of the negative aspects of being Vata. Pitta is comprised of fire and water, which makes steam. So Pittas are exciting, they're agitated, they're what's called rajasic. They are of this earth, they're of this plane, they're getting things done. There's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of movement, they're very ambitious. They are the doers, the movers, the shakers, and the doers. But that fire has qualities of being hot and drying ultimately. And the water, of course, is cool and damp. And pittas can have varying degrees of dampness and dryness. And you'll see that at play. Some people who are pitta have more dry skin, dry hair. Some people who are pitta have more moist skin, moist hair, acne problems, that kind of a thing. So the fire is about transformation. It's very present in our immune system and our enzymes. And the water is about flow and delivery of things to different parts of the body. Now, Kapha is comprised of the elements earth and water. And so water, as we said, is cool and moist. Earth is very cool or cold even, and typically dry, but you put the two together, you can actually have obviously mud, and when it dries out, it can actually be caked. So at its best, Kapha has these elements of flow and also, in a sense, a vessel for things to take place, because water can be the cup, the glass, the vessel in which many things are held. It can also give them a quality of being very flowing and being very graceful. They can have a very melodious voice. Some of your great opera singers have Kapha qualities. But the earth element, being dry and cooler, is structure. structure in Kapha is dominant. They have strong teeth, they have strong bones, they have strong hair, they have strong skin, they can have very strong immune system, they tend to have very white sclera of their eyeballs, they tend to have very white teeth, they can have very creamy skin when balanced. In fact, Ayurveda actually they're not supposed to have a favorite, but in Ayurveda, or in the ancient times when Ayurveda was really flourishing, people really prized that Kapha constitution when it is balanced, because that person is very healthy, they have longevity, they have a good immune system, they have a very full and healthy body, and they tend to be able to accumulate wealth. And so there was a lot of emphasis placed upon that. But really with Ayurveda, it's important not to judge what you are. It's very important to be happy with what your constitution is and be able to acknowledge that that is your constitution, and to work very hard to keep your current constitution today balanced with your constitution that you are born with. So Vatas tend to be really tall or really petite. They tend to be very thin. They have very prominent joints. Their joints might be a little crooked. Their nose might be a little crooked. Their teeth might be a little crooked. They tend to have darker hair, darker eyes. Pittas have very moderate build, very moderate musculature. They tend to have moderately sized teeth and eyes, lighter hair. Their skin is very sensitive, more prone to sunburn and rashes, for example. And Kaphas, as I said, have very strong structure, very strong teeth, very strong bone formation, and all of the beautiful characteristics that I described. Today we tend to call ourselves Kapha if we have a hard time losing weight. And while that can be an imbalance or a symptom of Kapha out of balance, it does not describe all of the beautiful characteristics that a Kapha can possess and can manifest in their body. So to keep this a little bit brief, what I really want to say is that our diet, our beverages, the environment that we expose ourselves to, the activities we engage in, they all influence our dosha. So every living thing that we eat or expose ourselves to, the air around us, the sunshine, the quality of our home, the way things are arranged, the colors that we wear, all of these have the dosha qualities as well. And so they affect our dosha. They can keep us balanced with our prakriti, or they can throw us out of balance in our vikruti. And so our world today is very imbalanced with respect to Vata and Pitta. We tend to be manifesting the negative or the out of balance aspects of Vata and Pitta. Why? Because we're constantly moving, we're multitasking, we're not focusing, we're not taking time, we're not sleeping well, we're not eating right, we're eating processed foods that are devoid of life. You know, we're engaging in watching TV shows and listening to music that agitates and aggravates our nervous system. So we're very out of balance in that way. Almost everybody. Anybody who's a true Kapha is pretty much staying at home and chilling out and not even engaging in any of that stuff. So it's really all of those of us with Vata Pitta tendencies that are out and sort of being thrown off kilter by life today. And so what is the antidote to that? It's really interesting because so much research today is realizing that it all comes down to the same basic tips on how to live a healthy, long life, how to prevent certain chronic degenerative diseases, what diet to focus on. And this is where I want to bring in what is a newer concept of a very age-old idea, and that is the blue zones. If you look up Blue Zone Project, or you look up blue zones around the world, it was sort of an investigation, a journalistic investigation into areas of the world where people have a very long health span. In other words, they not only live long, like over 100 typically, but in those years they're healthy, they're active, they're mentally capable, they're physically capable. And so what do all those cultures have in common that we know intuitively is going to help balance us out today? Well, you know, they get out in the sun and have appropriate exposure to the sun. It not only affects your levels of vitamin D, it affects your hormones, it affects your neurotransmitters, and it keeps you on the right sleep and wake cycles. So sleep is extremely important. Ayurveda really prescribes very specific amounts of sleep for each dosha, but it's in every case typically way more than most people are getting today. You have community. You have purpose. You have like-mindedness. You hug people. You express your appreciation for people, and you yourself feel appreciated. You engage in things that make a difference. You eat a diet that is rich in foods that still possess life, that have living essence in them still. And you drink water that also still possesses a life force and is pure and doesn't damage your body. Water is the thing that carries everything through and to all of your tissues and also out of your body. But if your water is not pure, it's going to further toxify your body. So access to clean water is a huge component of balancing out your doshas in today's lifestyle, into our daily, hectic, crazy human race. So just think sensibly. Think about what people do in parts of the world where they just live a slower pace of life that's disconnected from all this technology, where they have solid community, where they have access to good, clean food and water, where they eat food that is providing them with a life force, where they engage with their community. These are the things that will balance out our doshas. Of course, it's much more complicated than that on a personal and individualized level, how to rebalance your Vata, your Pitta, and your Kapha. And as we go along, we'll get into more of those details and address specific situations in the Ayurvedic Minute. But generally speaking, these are the things that most all of us can benefit from. So just next time you're out and about, just try to think about what I've said and how your environment, the people you're around, and the food you're eating is making you feel. Does it make you feel hot? Does it make you feel cold? Does it make you feel nervous? Does it make you feel calm? Do you feel moist? Do you feel dry? And start to assess where you kind of fall in these doshas. You can certainly find quizzes online. I'll put a link or two to quizzes below. That is pretty basic, but it helps you get an idea and head you in the right direction with analyzing what your dosha might be. And then when I have further videos, you'll be able to see what tips might work specifically for your dosha. Thank you so much for joining me in the Ayurvedic Minute. If this helped you, please like my video. Please do remember to subscribe so that we get more views and you get more content freshly delivered to your inbox. And until we meet again, live long, live strong, and make a difference.